This is Tribe Talk.
Hello, I'm Coach Schlieve, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach here at Northside ISD, and I'm with Superintendent Ryan, and this is the first episode of Tribe Talk. So Superintendent Ryan, we've got a couple weeks together now, and I guess if we look back to where it started, you had placed an advertisement for Athletic Director, Head Football Coach, and it kind of started from there. So you want to give just a little bit of what got us to this point?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that when we worked on this was we started, I think the word I used was, I was looking for elite football coach, or somebody that came in, we developed an elite program, and we talked a lot about that, and that kind of put, hopefully the goal was to set an expectation that was going to be up here. And we put it out there, we had over 20 applicants. It was a great turnout as far as people that applied for the job. And we get down to, we had three really good applicants that we interviewed, I guess you could say our finalists. And the really interesting part about what led us to choosing you was a decision that we met with the high school kids and all junior high and high school kids. And we asked them specifically, what is it you want in an athletic director? And one of the things that really helped solidify my decision was they said we want somebody that's very knowledgeable in a program, what they want to do and the expectation. But we also want somebody that's going to make us work hard. Kids said that. They said they want somebody that's going to make them work hard. So the beauty of that is it set the tone from their perspective. As soon as they said those words, I looked at them all and I told them verbally, I said, I know exactly who I'm going to hire. And that had to do with the background, and you had laid out a very clear expectation for what your program looks like. We could see that. And you provided that for us, and we knew what was going to be expected. We knew it was going to be, that standard was going to be up here. And so that was the exciting thing that kind of led to that decision ultimately. And we're excited about having you here. You've been, and I'll kind of throw that question back on you, is that since you have been here, what has been some of the things that you focused on, that were some of your priorities early on, and your expectation with the kids just, since you started?
I think the balance, everybody wants to hit the ground running with a certain amount of momentum, and there is also a certain strategy that goes along with that. You want to push the kids hard, but you want to definitely find how hard can they handle, and you want to do it incrementally. And I think what led us to this first episode of Tribe Talk was honestly challenges. We walked in right away, and there is an expression, their eyeballs are bigger than their stomach, and hey, we want this, we want this, we want that, but we're not quite ready for it. And as a coach, you're always trying to push for more, faster, better, and you have to find that balance of not losing any momentum, but at the same time being realistic that every setback isn't final. It's just that. It's just a setback. And so coming in day one, looking for an office, looking for a place to call home, and what we found is in the transition of where Northside was, where Northside wanted to be, we have this middle ground, and some people will refer to it as growing pains. But we chose to look at it as, how can we take and make the most of this situation where there's not an athletic director office? And we found a couple places, but it would really disturb others, whether it's displacing them, moving them into another spot. But the takeaway we got was, you know what, let's create one. And we looked at some spaces in finding this space, and here's where the magic of editing is going to come into play. You can see what the space was versus what the space is, and really, I think that's what we wanted out of this first episode of Tribe Talk, that if we can take a space like that turn it into a space like this,
Absolutely.
what will we be able to do with the rest of the athletic department? And
So let's drill down on that. Where are we right now? Do you know what's the history of this room?
so when we got here, the history of the room was, I think, the final stop before the dump. Here's where
It's
furniture
pretty much.
went to die without
Yeah.
being thrown out.
It was an old storage, and I don't think we hardly had put anything or taken anything away for years.
No, sir. No, sir. It was filled. The ceiling in here is almost 10 foot, and there were spaces where it was filled almost to the ceiling. But when we started cleaning it out, we've got some coaches here that really tied together the history of Northside, and this was actually their locker room, and not in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, but as odd as it sounds, in the 90s, this was their football locker room.
Yeah, this is like, me, I have board members and I have parents that I think one of our dads of one of our high school kids, he had his high school number on behind one of these old lockers or something that he had written back there, and we gave him a hard time on that one. But that was spread out. Several of them, I think you mentioned it. We had some of our coaches that were former students that they're like, that used to be my locker. That used to be mine, and they just went back in time. And it's really, really neat thing about this space.
The nostalgia, watching them go down memory lane in live time. Coach Reed is a tremendous ag teacher, but before he was an ag teacher, he was a tremendous athlete. He was a Northside Indian, represented the district extremely well. And to watch him have a flashback to his high school coach talking to him in this spot about this event was amazing. But what it really let us do was tie together where Northside has been with where we currently are, and let everybody see that trajectory of where we're going.
I think that's a really good point to make, is that it does really sum up. We didn't have a massive plan behind this space. It just kind of happened, right? Like you said, we did have options, and to me, it was a really cool moment, because it went from not knowing what we were going to do to suddenly, wouldn't this be neat? And then I think you had it done over a weekend. It didn't take very long.
We really got after it. The kids jumped in, took a ton of ownership. Mrs. Schlieb was tremendous. She had the sweat equity is her. And then watching people get to bring their experiences into it, it really created a solid space, but also the rationale why to have that space, what can be utilized in that space, and the conversations, the amount of behind the scenes work that goes on as a coach. We were able to take what looked like a setback, turn it into a set up, and take that first challenge, and I think really knock it out of the park.
I think there's been a lot of positive things that come from just using this space, and that's one reason why we wanted to host this first episode, I guess you could say, here, is to be able to showcase that. And it does set us up for that this is only the beginning. And with simple space, this was a little bit of paint, some carpet tile. It wasn't that much. It did not take much to transform the space, but it's a perfect example of taking something old and now we're transforming it into something new. And I can't wait to see what else we do. So,
no, absolutely, it's exciting. And like we said, this is the first episode of Tribe Talk. We hope that you'll tune in, hear what is happening at Northside ISD.